Good evening. Welcome to our regular council meeting, Tuesday, January 20th. Call please.
Councilmember Sanchez. Present. Vice Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Calderon.
Here. And would Councilmember Roberts please lead us in?
Please stand. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Move on to personal proclamations. We move on to the introduction of new or promoted employees. Jason Dyer, Cal Fire Division Chief.
We're going to turn that over, Vice Mayor, to Chip Fowler to do the introductions today.
Yeah. Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. It's good to be back before you tonight to introduce to you Jason Dyer, your new fire chief and the assistant chief for the South Division. I've known Jason for practically his entire career. When I was battalion chief down here in Battalion 7, we were partners. He was an excellent partner. And then when I promoted, he was actually one of my battalion chiefs, and he was an excellent employee as well. He comes to you with a lot of knowledge, and he's got a strong work ethic and is a very sound chief officer, both administratively and operationally. So it's really my pleasure to introduce Jason as the new fire chief here. And it's comforting knowing that someone like Jason's going to come into this position and have that strong work ethic to work for the city of Gridley. So congratulations.
I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm born here in Butte County. I worked in Gridley or the Gridley area from about 2001 to 2009. And then as I promoted, I kind of made my way through the county. So I've been with CAL FIRE for 25 years, almost the entire thing here in Butte County. And so I'm very happy to be here to serve you and to work with each of you. I'll leave you my business cards at the end of the night, but thank you very much.
We're glad to have you.
Great.
The community participation forum, members of the public may address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. The city council may not discuss nor take action on any community participation item brought forward by a member of the community. Comments are requested to be limited to 3 minutes. Do you have any?
It's good to be here again. My name is Brenda Narayan. I'm PG&E's government affairs representative, and I wanted to come here today just to say thank you to council and to staff for working with PG&E this past year in the fall, Landon as well, to kind of work on the project to address some of the work that we needed to have done. And it was a collaborative effort with a lot of conversations, but again, we really appreciate being able to partner with you. And we do have a meeting coming up in about a week and a half to continue to talk about the work that needs to be done. And again, it will be done in a collaborative fashion. So again, thank you so much. It really is heartfelt to me. We do appreciate the partnership that we have with you. I also wanted to make a note about rate stabilization. There's news about rates, and I just wanted to make note that, as you know, that PG&E, the rates and what customers pay for it's all regulated and it's approved by our regulators, CPUC and FERC. And I wanted to make note that in 2026, the process to begin the 2026-30 general rate case started. And that ties into what I wanted to share with you. There's news about rates coming down a bit. And in January, rates for gas customers, especially, I know that's important to Gridley, the rates have come down by 3%, and that's effective this month. And then for CARE, for care customers is 2.6%. And that primarily is in part because of the 2023-26 general rate case, so a portion of that came off. And I just wanted you to know that we are committed to doing all we can to streamline our processes and to keep customers in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Moves us down to our consent agenda. Any kind of motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Consent agenda is approved. Items for consideration, comprehensive cost allocation and master fee study contract award.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. This is really a follow-up. A couple meetings ago, I brought a staff report with to see if we wanted to put out an RFP on the master fee schedule and cost allocation study. So that was approved by council a couple meetings ago, and I put out an RFP about November, I want to say. And we only got one proposal from Matrix Consulting Group. And their bid came in at $34,000 to do a master fee schedule study and a comprehensive cost allocation for the city. I did know some of their experience. They do have, over 20 years experience doing these studies. They work extensively with administrative governmental agencies. They have a strong focus on defensibility and documentation. They specialize in administrative services, parking regs, community development, and public safety, including fire, police, animal control, and things like that. They work with City of Chico, Town of Paradise, and the City of Fort Bragg. There is a full list on page 6 and 7 of the proposal, but these three are the closest ones to ours. I did reach out to the Town of Paradise and the City of Chico, and they both gave them really good recommendations. They said they work well. They attend all meetings. They respond. They just really well to work with. So they gave us, good feedback on that. This will really focus on our master fee schedule, which to my knowledge has not been updated. So it could, let us know what maybe there's some fees or something else we can charge for that we're not charging to kind of get us a little bit more revenue, or just update current rates or current fees that maybe they're outdated, or they'll give us a whole example, and we'll have a series of discussions, bring in all department heads, and we'll have a series of meetings. And once we get all that, if approved, we'll bring it back to council. They'll be here to answer any questions from the council, from the public, from staff, and kind of let everybody know why we went that route and things like that. So the recommendation is to approve this proposal from Matrix Consulting Group, the amount not to exceed $34,000, and to authorize the city administrator to sign all agreements and or contracts with Matrix Consulting Group. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions?
Yes, I have a question. So would you say that the estimated fiscal impact of 34,000 is about average of what we could have expected from any other RFPs had they been submitted?
From what I've seen on the couple that I was able to find from other cities, this is actually well below. I was expecting 80, 90 grand, to be honest. So this was much lower. And they got good feedback from Town of Paradise and City of Chico, but with both of them over email on the phone. And they gave a really good feedback, so that's covered.
What are the recommendations?
I believe the recommendation is outlined. I believe that we should look at the rates. The last time that the rates, the master fee scheduled was amended was two city administrators ago. There was no third party that did that. There were some fees that were removed that they felt didn't apply anymore, but I think it's very difficult for us to not know what staff is actual time that they're spending on things. And that we should probably have a good overview in comparison to what other cities are charging that we may not be charging, administrative fees, maybe a review of the business licenses to see where the rates are and how we can structure those better. So I think it's a good opportunity to look at our master fee schedule right now. We've looked at utility rates, but we've never done the master fee schedule. So I think the timing is now to take a look at that. So my recommendation would be for us to
So the,
take a look.
the desired outcome is actually quite positive, positive.
The desired outcome is more revenue. And to cover for, we talk about roads, we talked about streets, we talked about the lack of revenue that we're receiving for the general fund. And that's the fund for your police officers, your animal control, your fire department. Maybe there's things that our fire department is going out and doing that other cities are charging and we aren't. Maybe there's fees that are pretty outdated for ticketing or rates that we should be charging for citations for safety as well. So this is revenue that we would normally not have other than being able to adjust and modify our master fee schedule. So we should examine it. It's not just we're going to do this to raise the rates. There may be some that we're charging that doesn't make any sense. Maybe we need to do it on a flat. Maybe we need to modify our rate schedule for business licenses based on number of employees versus a flat fee or vice versa. I think it's time for an overhaul on the master fee schedule.
What type of impact will it have to the low income and the elderly? Is there any way that you actually project some sort of burden to them?
Well, I think right now it's a study. So the master fee schedule, what you're approving today is to study it and to look at it. We won't know what the impact is going to be until we see where our fees are, with how they are aligned. And this is just a reminder, the cost for services and for your labor and all of your supplies is going up. And the master fee schedule, that's not something that we should just amend without a third party going in and looking at it that do that. They do this for other cities as well. It's just a good way to maintain your fees up to date.
Anybody else?
I have one follow-up question. So I know that, not to say too much into the next agenda item, it just seems that a master fee schedule can be more than just general administrative services. What about business licenses? Then you have engineering, planning. What is going to be the scope of this master fee schedule? I know that maybe that hasn't been conversed yet with folks, but are we looking at just a general master fee analysis, or are we looking at the separate costs? Like, especially if we're outsourcing for anything, is that going to be made available on the master fee schedule? Because if looking at just other issues that we've had with developers over the last year or so, again, it goes back to transparency. And if it's listed somewhere officially, like a master fee schedule, and this would include planning, business, general administration, again, what would be the scope of this study?
So if I think what your question, probably you're wanting clarification if it's going to include impact fees, which it will not. That would be a nexus study. In the past, we did have a program where we, 2 cycles ago, where we had this program where it was a reduced rate for impact fees, and then that expired. This is specifically looking at everything else other than the impact fees. So this is your animal control. This is police. This is admin. This is business licenses.
Would it include engineering and planning? Or would that require us?
There's other fees in your master fee schedule for administrative time that we charge. This would have more clarification for somebody, what those fees would be for an hourly amount. So for example, we used to charge for DUIs. There's a whole regulation on that now on whether or not we charge for an officer's time to go out there for DUIs. So that's not even on our fee schedule right now. There's information that's missing from our master fee schedule that doesn't provide guidelines. So when we look at this, it's a tool to define those guidelines and to really look at everything to see if we are missing a recommended guideline on charging a fee.
Well, and just to highlight, I'm not sure if that's something for us to entertain and for you to consider. For example, would it outline, I'll take some of like the 7 planning services firms that you're proposing for the next agenda item. For example, would their fees be encompassing of this master fee schedule? Or are you gonna keep that separate? And that goes back to just my question so far.
So I think what you're alluding to is the RFP for consulting services. Consulting services is gonna be specifically, so for example, environmental costs for environmental planning, which is something we would be charging separately for a specific project that has to do with a development coming in on whether or not they would need an EIR or what type of planning services. That's more narrow in that field. And what we did with the RFP services is no different than we did with the inspection services. So for example, we don't have staffing that does the inspection services, so we have a vendor listing that we put out for that. It's the same with the planning for RFP. If there's a narrow scope, such as an environmental, and feel free to elaborate on the differences. The master fee schedule is a master fee schedule of services that we do routinely through our own staff that we're not collecting fees for.
So if I may, when it comes to like the on-call services, we put out
Yeah.
RFQ. We're asking for people that have qualifications to do a certain job, but those are oftentimes pass-through fees. So whatever the on-call, the consultant is charging, it's not done through the fee schedule. They have their own fees and those fees pass straight through to the applicant.
And I think that's the exact issue that we're having with developers right now is that there's that lack of transparency on those pricings. And that goes back to my question to you is, do we need to be including that in there to help alleviate some of the issues that city staff are facing in those type of scenarios?
I think for the RFP, if I can go back to the inspection services, the transparency is there because we actually have the developer that's choosing the RFP. We are not choosing the person. We are gathering the RFPs and handing that off to the developer. And then the developer is saying, okay, out of these 4 quotes, I want to go with this person.
And the challenge with putting that in a fee schedule is that they give different bids and there's not going to be a guaranteed price for each thing. So it can be different from one consulting company to another based on the project.
We could put something in the fee schedule, just thinking that it would be based on, like something like that, it would be based on the bid that gets awarded. But there isn't gonna be, like Chris said, we can't really put a dollar amount because there's different bids, different amounts, different pricings for each firm.
Let's just say, here's a different example though. If someone comes forth and there's a building application project and it takes staff 3 hours or 4 hours, then administratively, we would be able to say in-house, this is what our staff costs, and we would be able to incorporate our costs. But for another agency or another company, we wouldn't be able to put that in here. This is more administratively us here and to
Yeah.
collect some of those
That
fees.
answers my question then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
The only comment that I have, and I'll open it to the public, is I hope this company considers median income of our community
Mhm.
when they look at what their fees are what they're going to suggest that we do, because we aren't Chico, we aren't Orville, we're a smaller community. So that would be one of the things I would be concerned about is they look at that part of it.
They're gonna examine this, but ultimately you as a council will be able to say yes or no to what's being brought, and you'll be able to adjust those areas that you feel you don't want to change. So it is a working document. It's not, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but we're gonna have several studies once we get the information back.
Yeah,
This is gonna come back to you as a city and as a council for you to look at what they're saying you are charging or you're not what you're charging too much for or what you're not charging for.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
It's a study.
They're gonna bring everything back. Right now, if approved, we're projecting to have the first meeting sometime in June, July. And hopefully implement, we'll have a series of meetings in June, July, and then implement sometime in September and August or August. But they'll also provide us with all their materials, all their Excel files, all the files they use. So then year to year, we can adjust or update based on the CPI if needed. That would be all presented to you as a council, and all the information will be made available publicly too.
Okay, any comment from the public? Those public comment, thank you, okay, motion.
Motion, right?
Yes.
A motion to accept the proposal from Matrix Consulting Group in the amount not to exceed $34,000 and authorize the city administrator to sign all agreements, contracts with Matrix Consulting Group.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second, roll call please.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Motion carried, move on down to item number 4, on-call professional planning services.
Even there and councilors. So as we briefly just spoke about, so I'm bringing a recommendation to bring in some on-call planning services. And the purpose is to create a pool of flexible on-demand specialists. You know, there are a lot of areas in planning that I'm not a specialist in. I mean, I'm a current planner, but you know, you have travel planners, you have environmental planners, and people who do long range or housing, that sort of thing, advanced planning. So, you know, Gridley is a small community, but we have projects of a much larger community. We're looking at some really big maps, and while everything's been reined in for the short term, you know, it doesn't take much of influx for someone like me to just kind of lose control, not being able to rein everything in, and things start slipping through the cracks. So being able to have someone that they can call and with the knowledge and expertise is critical. You want to go to the slide? So instead of just choosing the cheapest or the most experienced, the methodology here was to get the widest array of types of planning. People who have you know, maybe they have an in-house engineer or they might have in-house building services, so they have some context. They provide more than one type of planning service, but they have a very good specialty in something. You know, a lot of these firms, they try to do as much as they can. And so, but by having specialists that have good resumes, and we can ensure that they do really well at least one thing. Also to get some that are local that we can have that can actually be in the building if they need to do a presentation or if they need to be on the ground at a site or something, then we have some people from Chico, but the better planners might be out of Sacramento. So I tried to kind of expand that out. And of course, the multidisciplinary value and having all the different areas, and then redundancy, because these planning firms can oftentimes become inundated with their own work, and they don't always have somebody who can quickly get to the type of work that we're looking for, or they may not have a planner with that specialty on deck and ready to go. So eCorp is a local, they have a Chico office. And they do have a great CEQA and environmental background. They have a lot of experience doing environmental in the area. And EMC same thing. They are, they do have a local office and they also have a wide breadth of environmental. Now, PlaceWorks, obviously they did our housing element and they did a fantastic job. I think we're pretty happy with asking them to do something that was pretty big and asking them to do it really fast. And I think they really shined. And because they have that fundamental foundational knowledge about the city, they already know how to address certain things. Plus they just have a great background. And they've been used by a lot of our neighbors, and all of our neighbors say the same thing. Their demeanor is great, their work is great, and they're just, they're just easy to work with in general. CSG, another semi-local, they have some local people, but they're kind of spread out. Some of them are around Chico, some of them are kind of more in the foothills, but they know the area. They understand interacting with ag land and smaller communities, and so they have that foundational type of thing. Lego, same thing. They have a few people in Chico. I think their current planner is actually subbing for Private Paradise right now, but their main environmental person is who I interviewed, and he has been doing this a long time. So really happy with being able to have somebody who can augment staff, somebody who can come in if current planning projects get bogged down, and those are the options there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you say staff augmentation, did I miss that explanation? What you mean by that?
It just means to be able to quickly ramp up when work ramps up, but then taper off as the work tapers off. So if current planning projects if I become inundated with current planning projects and, say all these maps start wanting to build houses or commercial or whatever, if I can't keep up with all of them, I could potentially have somebody from Chico come down here and take over a project and just see that project tip to tail. And that allows me to focus on, higher level things or whatever projects are on my table already. M&S engineers, so they have a great grounded planning base, and they have really good resumes. I was really impressed with the work they had done, and they just got high marks across the board. They also have in-house engineers, and they have a whole big breadth of services that they provide, which gives them a broader context when taking on challenges. There's somebody in the house with them that they can ask, hey, what do you think about this? I mean, how do we address this? And having those, having all of those people thinking about one project, that you're not just hiring one person for the job. Similar to our current engineering firm, Bennett. It's not just Dave doing these. He probably has 7 different people working on various projects at different times, and this is the same type of thing. We're maybe hiring one group that comes with a whole bunch of people. So Harris and Associates, same thing. They just have a broad level of disciplinaries that they have in house, which gives them better context and understanding about projects. They aren't local, but they just bring a lot more to the table. So these are the recommendations that I have for you, and no one necessarily gets exclusive assignments because they all overlap. We can still have bids. We can still have multiple people available, multiple firms available for single individual tasks, and be able to pick whoever is the most qualified. Or maybe it might be a price thing, or maybe it's a time thing, or maybe it's a proximity thing. So if they need somebody local, we can put that higher up on our list.
So there's no fiscal impact on this.
No, there's no fiscal impact. It's only when we need one of their services that somebody actually comes in. And at that time, I think that what we talked about was to have these services pass through as our engineering currently does. So we're not paying out for the service. It's the applicant that does.
So if we have let's say, for example, we have a development that comes through and they need an environmental engineer, a report done. we would put a task order out and get a bid from all of these on-call services. Those would come through and then we would pick from there. So it allows us to have kind of a shelf that we can put the order out and see what comes back and have the services done, and those are pass-through services.
So would the developer have the choice of who they wanted to deal with?
I think as we move forward, we'll have to determine on the criteria. Ultimately, it's the city that has the say. Because you're the one choosing the person that's most knowledgeable. If you start allowing all the developers to pick, I would have to rely on our expertise of choosing the person that we feel is giving us the best task order. Because it's something that we would normally have to do in-house, but we're having an outside person do that.
So the challenge with
But if
that.
it's a good fit for a developer, I mean.
So the challenge with that is that some of these firms, they work with developers.
Okay, that's what.
Mhm.
Right, so,
Yes.
I've seen some faces up there. Okay.
Yeah,
so as a municipality, we need to be mindful that we're not pairing buddies. And that, so that they're not, we don't have conflicts of interest. In other municipalities where I've worked, the developer never chooses, especially when it comes to things like environmental. If it's a permit that just can be pushed through, a lot of those things are objective. And there may be times where we might not care. But there's definitely gonna be a lot of times where we want to be very mindful about whether the developer is to handpick who's working on the project.
So then you're saying that this is standard practice for cities that are in this situation where they outsource planning services?
Absolutely.
And that the developers, yeah, they might, right, if that's the word, but regardless, they're at the mercy of the city because that's.
Yeah,
that's what we're
developers
using.
developers will always write. But yeah, I mean, even cities like Chico, they have regular on-call services, they have contract planners that do a wide array of things. Some of them, that were there when I was there are still there. They don't work there full-time. They have other projects in other jurisdictions. But anytime the planners in Chico get bogged down, I say, hey, Kelly, can you take a couple of things off my plate, just push these through, they're simple, whatever, and then they can focus on, the bigger things that they want to be able to be hands-on.
No, but it's not set up to take place of our plan.
No.
this is specialized. We wouldn't be sending things out unless it's more specialized.
Okay.
And that would have to also, I mean, we'd be sent, it would still have to come back to you for the approval for the agreement as well.
Well, I mean, a lot of the gripes on the developers are time, and it sounds like this would speed things up,
Right.
move things forward a lot quicker, which is time is money.
But also, I think unexpected costs, and so that's where it goes back to my comment in the previous agenda item where how transparent does the city need to, not transparent, but how much responsibility or liability falls on us to make sure that there is that transparency of information that when we are using someone that's outside, but still a conduit to the city, that there's not gonna be the surprise billing.
So that is something that we regularly have conversations with the developer. We currently have a project in the pipe where it needs environmental review. And before they even had an approved submittal, I was already talking to them about, we're not gonna be hands-on with the environmental. We want it to be clean and without bias. So the city won't be doing it. You guys also won't be able to go get your own environmental planner. There are jurisdictions that have done that, where the developer just go gets their own initial study done. But instead, we'll have an independent company that goes out and does the stuff and reports back. So letting them know ahead of time, so they know what they're getting into, is important. That's part of the development process, making sure that we're communicating and having functional conversations with our local community.
And I look at it this way too, we have, how many, 7?
Yeah.
7 there. It's not like we have 1. So it be competitive in pricing, first of all.
That's a big part of it.
But that's a very good thing,
It's important that it's justifiable.
Sure.
So having 10 or 15 might start getting questionable because there's so much overlap with people doing the same thing, that how do you justify picking one over the other for individual projects and put yourself in that type of
I
situation?
mean, I'm more apt to look at local businesses just because they're local.
Absolutely.
Plus, they can be in a good southern area. Not like the influence in Sacramento and those areas because it just costs more money, or not Sacramento, so.
Yeah, one strength though is that sometimes they bring a broader perspective and expertise, and they're oftentimes disconnected from the community. So you're less likely to get buddy situation, there.
But I mean, like I said, the influences from Sacramento, not necessarily work up here.
I mean, I gotta say, Placeworks, they came in under budget, but they did that housing element cheap enough that they are now doing our housing implementation strategies. So we've been able to extend their uses. So you're right, sometimes they can go over budget, and oftentimes contractors are expensive.
Well, it's not necessarily the budget part of it, but I don't know what the way things are in those counties, when I say those counties, it's different than up here.
And I think adding on to Councilmember Sanchez's concern with transparency, I think it comes down to also everything as we get these agreements, they will be brought to you in an open forum. They're gonna be able to come up and speak, whether they agree or disagree. The developer will be able to approach. We're not just choosing and then not bringing them. There's gonna be a method for public session for them to have to voice their opinion on it as well.
Did you ask what the process is? Kind of, for example, developer comes in, they need one of these companies, we need to use one of these companies. What does that time frame look like?
So it may be case by case. It depends on the task that you're asking them to do. So in the immediate future, we're looking at an initial study. That's a pretty run-of-the-mill type thing. If you have environmental planners, it doesn't take them long to make that assessment. And once tomorrow when I come in, I'll be lining up a couple of people immediately and making sure that we get all the details of what we're looking for. Talk about the project, and I would expect bids within a couple of days, and then I expect a selection within a week or so. So
it's not a long drawn out process.
We have one planner, so if you think about it, if you're having just one staff member work on all these projects as they come through, it could slow things down.
Sure.
So this just adds more speed onto the projects.
or worth something gets slips through the cracks.
Yeah.
I can't get to everything.
No, I agree.
I have two things. There are at least two that I saw that are from Sacramento.
Well,
Yeah, and one's from Monterey. And then just the last thing I would say, it looks like you're gonna have a little bit more on your workload. So I'm sure up for the challenge.
Never ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
And
and
so if you have any concerns about that, obviously you're gonna be managing 7 potential outside partners. And so I'm sure you're gonna do it.
thank you. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if it's more difficult than doing the work myself. I think that, bandwidth is really limited at this point, so I can't see taking on a whole lot more. Having extra help will be a big deal.
And again, if there's any concerns, I'm sure the council here, we're here to listen to any of that and however we can be of support, so.
Of course, yeah.
Any other questions? Open to the public, any questions from the public? From a company and entertain a motion.
Motion to authorize the city administrator to execute the professional agreements with each of the 7 firms listed and authorize the city administrator to issue task orders in accordance with their terms and applicable procurement policies as needed.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon.
Yes,
Motion carried. Moving on to item number 5, Vieira Park Snack Bar Building HVAC replacement.
As Mayor, in City Council, we have before you the consideration for heating and air system, an HVAC system replacement for the Vieira Park Snack Bar. building and also authorized to proceed with Dake Brothers Heating and Air in the amount of $8,200, $8,240 for the installation of the new system. We did have this issue that came to us through Gridley Little League, and it was brought to our attention that they no longer had an air system there. It was during the summer, it was pretty warm. I think they did their last game. We were meeting with our ad hoc committee as well. And under the current situation, we're recommending that we replace it. City staff was directed to obtain quotes. And then after reviewing the options, Public Works Committee final recommendation was to bring this item quotes to the city council for decision and direction. There were several items that we discussed during these meetings, but this was the one item that we felt we could currently move forward. During the summer, the snack bar is utilized for all of the softball games there, and we wanted to ensure that those kiddos that are working there and parents that work those areas are not in a poor environment. It gets pretty warm in there. So have Jerry that could probably elaborate on any questions you may have on the systems. And then again, the fiscal impact, we're using carbon credit funds for the replacement. And there will be a supplemental appropriation that will follow for that.
I don't remember that the Rotarians wanted to help. Maybe we can share the cost. If that's their position at this time.
I believe the Rotarians did approach Jerry, if you want to talk about, it wasn't just this, but there were other items that are still needing to be done at the site.
You mean Vice Mayor? Yeah, I was actually out at the softball field doing some measurements, trying to get some ideas, prices for concrete and such, and the new president for the Rotary happened to be there doing some measurements and started discussing, things that they might be able to help fund, do through them. And he did, like I said, take measurement stuff. He said he would be approaching council and city with some ideas.
Oh, great.
So hopefully,
Yeah.
in the next month or two before Little League actually gets fired up.
That was measurements out of the softball?
I was on the softball side. I think his kind of idea at first is going to get maybe some shade for the spectators.
Great.
For both sides. As mentioned, we did get the third base dugout roof fixed, and hopefully weather holds will get the first base side done within the next month. But that's kind of going off of the task here at the moment, but
There was a group of parents that did some fundraising. It was brought to our attention, they wanted to donate originally. A recommendation would be that they use that for the kids, for their equipment and upgrading those much needed jerseys or uniforms, equipment that may need. And then the city would look into replacing the heating and air system, and then looking at the shade covering and those areas that need to be upgraded.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. Any other questions?
So then the snack bar is city property.
Yes, it is. So
Sure.
one of the things we talked about was just ensuring that those areas are city parks. We're currently looking at grants for recreational areas. But due to the timing and the condition of the heating system and air system, that we're recommending that gets replaced immediately, because the longer you wait, the price will go up. So we don't want
That
to,
has to be fixed.
the quote could go up.
And this is AC and heat.
I believe it's just AC.
Oh,
Is it
Jerry
the
was
whole
nodding his
system?
head.
Both?
Jerry?
I
HVAC.
thought it was heating and air.
Yeah,
I was trying to read the quote real quick. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Not to put you on the spot.
it's for a new system.
Yeah, it does have, they're showing a 20-year warranty on the heat exchanger, so
Yes.
it's
Both.
I'd like to open up to public comment. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the replacement of the HVAC system at the Riviera Park Snack Bar Building and authorize staff to proceed with Dake Brothers Heating and Air LLC in the amount of $82.40 and authorize Public Works Director to any necessary documents.
Second.
Yeah, motion is second. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon.
Yes.
Motion carried. Moving on to council committee reports.
I said tomorrow. The first meeting is the 7th tomorrow. I had chamber meeting, they're starting to already plan food, red suspenders and get that going.
Wow, already. Yeah, it's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
None for me, thank you.
I attended the Paducah meeting was canceled. I couldn't attend the mosquito abatement. I think that's the fifth one I've ever missed. But I did attend the LAFCO meeting. And we did approve the Responsibility Water District Sycamore Street Detachment and Sphere of Influence Amendment, and we did pick a appointment of the Budget Committee for 26-27, and I'm one of the members on that. That's all I have to report as far as that goes. City Administrator report.
I did attend a quarterly managers meeting for Boone County and Chico and Orville as normally do. And then also just ongoing meetings with union staff, internal staff on projects that are going on. So we're gonna have a very busy month, February.
Department update reports. We have number 6 is updated to litigation. We're going 110 and 390 Virginia Street.
Good evening, council. Just want to give the council the latest on the pending litigations on both the Virginia Street properties and answer any questions that council might have. Starting with 390 Virginia, this is the brick building. The hearing to put the property under receivership has been continued to March 4th, 2026. And that is a matter of litigation counsel's inability to get the property owner served with the complaint. Property owner resides overseas, had been in regular contact with Amanda Pope when they were discussing settlement. Once the petition was filed with the court, contact ceased. They'll have to file an ex parte application motion to serve the property owner via alternative methods. They publish in a paper or otherwise. And, you know, the court has effectively bumped the hearing until they would have time to effectuate an alternative service method. On 110, the property remains listed for sale. This is the dryer. They have not had any offers on the property. There has been a couple of incidents with fire at the property over the past month that police or fire have had to respond to. To that end, it was discussed with council and the receivership about the possibility of fencing the property. The receivership will not front the cost to put up a construction fence around the property. But at this point, because the property is in receivership, you know, the city, along with the receiver, would have the ability to do that, to secure it in the meantime. They had an older bid for $7,000. If the city were to look at obtaining bids to put up a fence, you know, we could do that and then seek to recover that cost out of the proceeds of a sale eventually, when the property is eventually sold. So if council's interested in that option, staff can go out and obtain those bids. And I think we can expect it to be in the $7,000 to $10,000 range, and then look to recoup that cost when the litigation concludes with the sale of the property. Yes, Vice Mayor.
When can we discuss that? You just said, if the council.
My answer is you can direct staff now to go obtain bids, and then we can make a decision as to, whether any of those bids are eventually adopted to spend that money and put it up.
Should we give direction?
I'll make a motion that we get a bid to what it would cost to fence it. Now, is that, you said 7 to 10, is that for a certain time period? Or is that us buying the fencing, or are we renting it? How long is that price for?
I don't know the answer to any of that, Council.
We could look at options.
Yeah, those are the questions that we gotta figure out. What we heard from litigation counsel when this came up last week was, hey, we had an older bid for $7 grand. Receivership won't front the money. The city would have to look into doing that. So I don't have any of the particulars. That's why, I think it makes sense to go out, take a look at that. But with the knowledge that, what is spent can be recouped.
We had a staff meeting this morning and we talked a little bit about the securing those areas. And I believe Jerry's gonna be doing both options of securing with purchasing fencing versus rental and see what the best costs are. And then maybe we could agendize for future, with your direction to agendize the matter for review of those bids once he's done getting those. So he's already kind of working on that right now.
But the city would have to front the cost then.
We would have to front it and then we'd have to collect it in the end when once the property is sold. So
If the property is sold.
If it's sold, yeah, you would have to.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point, Councilmember Sanchez, which is to say that the property hasn't had an offer on it yet. And, ultimately all the costs that are to be recouped, have to be approved by the judge in the end. I would expect that this cost would be approved, and I think the city has a pretty compelling reason, given the history, to secure the property and spend what's necessary to do it. But it is speculative to some degree.
Take to the council.
I mean, unless, are we able to have a debate right now or?
That's what-
This direction?
We're not gonna make a decision on fencing the property or not today. What we can do is make a decision as to whether we want to further pursue that to get the bids and see what that cost would look like.
We'll make that motion.
And I'll second that motion. So roll call, please.
Councilmember Calderon,
Oh, yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Any other questions regarding the state of either of the litigations?
So.
We have the practice of, discussing these litigations in open session just because it has been a point of concern for a lot of people in the community, obviously. But these are appropriate to add to a closed session agenda. And, certainly we can look at doing that if there's more particular questions or direction that council wants to provide on the litigation.
I think we'll just, at this point, we'll just move forward with getting bids on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question on these properties in general. Is it allowable that we could have somebody who has a drone fly over that and get us some what the current from the aerial looks like of those collapsed buildings? Is there anything that prohibits that or?
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, I mean, we'd certainly ask the receiver whether there's any objection or issue there, but I don't think that would be a problem.
That's just something I'd like to be able to see how with it all collapsed inside, what it looks like, how secure it is, or maybe next time it comes to us.
Okay, yeah, no, I'll pass that along as well.
Thank you. Moving on to number 7, ordering investment update, Finance Director Mark King. It is. You grew up here.
Good evening, council. I'm Miguel Chavez. If you guys haven't met me before. We're just gonna go over some of the annual meter stuff. So, some notable items that happened in 2025 is the Federal Reserve cut the interest rates 3 times from 4.5% to 3.75%. The US economic growth was better than expected, surprisingly. The S&P closes near an all-time high, up 16.4% for the year. Some of the main drivers of that were AI stocks. So here we just have our current portfolio. It's about 12.5 million. Most of it is from our securities, and then 100,000 is of our money market fund. And then our current yield right now is 4.29%. For the next 5 years, we should have a relative similar yield to what we have now. After that, it's kind of hard to project. So our net income for the 2025 calendar year was $474,454.92. And then we had kind of talked with Meter just about any future factors that can maybe, change the way we invest. They did say that Jerome Powell, his term is coming up in May. He's the Federal Reserve Chair. And depending on who gets elected, that can kind of change the way that the markets react.
So if, I have a question, so if the interest rates come down, then as far as our investments goes, it's not as good as what we have right now, correct?
Yeah, it can vary, I would say, for sure.
Okay.
Especially depending on who comes in, they could be more aggressive with the rate cuts. Who's to say what the market will do with that?
Right.
I do want to add that if rates come down, it's only really going to affect our short-term investments. If you see at the bottom, the blue, our 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 years, those are still yielding at 4.29%. So let's say it just drops 1% overnight, we're still going to be yielding 4.29.
So we're at 4.29 for how long? 5 years. Okay, all right.
So it's really going to affect our short-term, our 1 and 1 and 2, because those will mature. And then we'll have to reinvest those. If it drops, we'll be reinvesting into a new lower rate. If it drops. It's projected to decrease at least 2 more times this year.
Yeah, so.
So it's really gonna affect our short term, our long term investment is still in a good spot until 5 years. That's up, then we'll be reinvesting those securities into the new rate.
So would that be like 1/4 of what we have invested would be affected short term?
Short term, it would be our 0 to 1 and our 1 to 2, the first 2 blue line.
I understand, but that's total investment. I mean, I'm trying to understand this. I'm just trying to learn. So what's maturing and what's not maturing, and what is the?
So in 1 year, 1.7 million, and 1 year or less, 1.7 million is maturing.
Okay.
In 1 to 2 years, 2.5 million will be maturing along with the 1%.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Good job. Thanks. And then item number 8 is issue FAR. We got some major updates or no?
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. No major updates, but I wanted to give you kind of an update on what your officers have been doing for the fourth quarter of 2025. For misdemeanor arrests at 76, for the total year of 2025, they had 299. Felony arrests for the quarter had 15, and for the year had 63. Total incidents for the quarter was 3,559. The total year was 14,663. In the report that was provided to you, there's a lot of different different categories. If you'd like clarification on those, I'd be more than happy to try and give clarification. Total 911 calls for the quarter were 544. Total year was 2,082. Our response times for priority 1 calls was 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Priority 2, 4 minutes and 5 seconds, and priority 3 was 4 minutes and 10 seconds. I also kind of want to give you a brief overview of our first 6 months of BIGS. Total cases that we've taken for those 6 months is 64. Misdemeanor arrests were at 12. Felony arrests were at 4. Total incidents for those 6 months was 717. And total 911 calls was 1,121. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer the best I can.
So for the city of Biggs, remind me, the contract was, so far has been 3 months.
6 months.
Oh, 6 months.
July 1st was when 2025 is when we took over.
And so the 1,121, that was for the year? Or quarterly, for the city of Biggs?
And which number? The
You mentioned the 1,121 total 911 calls? The city of Biggs?
correct.
Okay, so that was for the whole 6 months so far, okay. That's pretty heavy, so our Gridley Police Department answered around 1,600 total calls between Gridley and Biggs if you add up.
The 911 calls could be a lot of different things. We're not always responding. It could be a misdial. It could be a hang up. But that's the total calls that came in for the city of Biggs. But the total incidents for that 6 months was 717.
Okay. Calls, sorry.
And then for felony crimes reported, so can you define that? Does that mean when a victim decides to issue a statement and press charges, or is that only when you, or however the process works, decides to file charges, or the DA? What does that mean?
So the number I gave you are arrests. So they were felony arrests. Now, felony reports could be a felony theft report. So I don't have the number of felony reports that were taken, but I have the number of arrests that were taken, if that makes sense.
Right. And then my question is, for felony crimes though, does that mean it's not just theft, it could be any type of a felony that is being reported?
Correct.
Thank you. Just learning while we have you in front of us.
Of course.
And then, not to sway back, but in regards to the fencing that we just discussed, Chief Farr, would you say then has fencing been effective on the property that it does currently have it, which is a 2-ton? And would it be as effective in the one that needs it right now? Because fencing only works so hard, and I think from your experience and the calls that you've seen and responded to, again, maybe this is getting into the weeds before we have the debate, but just wanted to get your thoughts.
The fencing put up around brick building, 390. Prior to the fencing, there was a lot more activity in there. Once the fencing went up, it lessened. Did it eliminate? No. So to answer your question, would it help? Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. That's all for me.
I have a question. So, out of all the citations that were written and all the traffic stops, you guys are at like 50% as far as writing tickets. Is that kind of a normal thing, or?
I like to give the officers discretion. So sometimes a ticket is warranted, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was kind of the norm or whatever. I'm not saying I want people to get tickets at all. I'm just curious. That's all I have.
Well, since you're still up there, can you define area checks on your council report, and what does that mean? What do officers do?
For example, if an officer's working graveyard shift and he goes into the Eagle Meadow subdivision, he'll notify dispatch that he's doing an area check, or of the schools or a post office or that type of thing.
Is there mandatory area checks per shift, or is it discretion?
It's usually put on the supervisor, but mandatory. Sometimes there will be citizens that come in, that will call in, can you extra patrol this area? And then that will be put out to all the officers And then they'll notify dispatch when they're doing extra area checks of a residence, a business, whatnot.
Someone going on vacation.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that raises a good point. Is there anything else that you want to share with the community that is available to them? Like, for example, you just said, hey, if you're going out of town, you can call in and say, hey, do you mind patrolling extra? Is there any additional service or resource that our police department provides that you would like to share?
I'm sure there is, but off the top of my head, I can't think of something right now.
It's okay, let's do the other side. But no, that's good to know that, you know, a non-emergency call to the department, hey, can you patrol this area?
That's one benefit of
Sure.
work at or Gridley PD and the city of Gridley and Biggs is the officers have time to do all those smaller things that bigger agencies just don't have time to do. And obviously the officers have to prioritize if something major's coming on. They're not gonna get to the other stuff. They have to prioritize things, but that's one benefit that citizens do have is to the more yeah, I don't even know the word I'm thinking of, but they have more interaction and more services provided to them that bigger agencies just don't have time to.
Yeah, more like front facing. Thank you.
Okay, I see.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I think we'll move into closed session.
Do you have any other?
Any other reports? I'm sorry.
From any others?
Oh, sure. Well, I was going by the list. Sorry about that.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Council. So I'll be giving a report for the month of December. December was a busy month, particularly with public events. So Truck 74, Engine 74, and Chief Zarate here attended the Winter Wonderland, which was well received by the public, had great attendance. Station 74 also assisted with the holiday tour for 2 nights. The Gridley Fire Department transported or escorted Santa through the city, and residents were able to utilize the online tracker to track Santa through the city. So about 1,500 people logged on and were able to track Santa. It was also assisted by the police department and some local volunteers in that event. We did fill the boot here in Gridley, and we're assisted by the Fire Explorers, and they raised $10,848 for muscular dystrophy. And then the Gridley firefighters also sent off the Gridley High Bulldogs for their last game of the season. And then moving into incidents, our Swiftwater Rescue Team staffed here out of Station 74 with 3 personnel from December 22nd through December 25th in anticipation of storm-related incidents and water-related calls in South County. And then Christmas Eve between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m., Station 74 ran 17 calls for service, including 10 calls for hazardous conditions, power lines down, and trees down due to storm activity. And then going back into November, so November and December, we ran 1 call each in 110 Virginia, and they were both refuse fires. They were kind of incipient fires, very small, and were extinguished inside the building. So total calls for the city of Gridley was 94, and then the county, our Station 74, ran 62 calls for a total of 156 incidents for the month. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have one question.
Yes.
There was a lot of emergency vehicles going up towards Butte Creek here about a week and a half ago, maybe.
I'd have to look
Yeah,
in
it was pretty.
You want to know about the call basically?
Yeah.
They had a propane explosion in one of the hunters RVs out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must have been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of vehicles heading out that way. Wow.
It's curious. Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
It's time to judge you.
That's all right.
No pressure. Anything.
I'm gonna make this super quick. We haven't had a meeting obviously for a month, but during all the storms, we worked really hard trying to make sure all the storm drains were clean, minimize any of our flooding. Hopefully people out in Heritage Landing recognized that there was no flooding this time. So that was helpful. And our big thing, filling potholes. I mean, I know they're still out there. There's some out there. We've had crews out there constantly trying to fill them. So,
Thank you.
you know, just we are there. Just want you guys to know that. I'm sure you've submitted. That's about it.
Thank them for, they did a bunch of them out by my house. I saw them out there working, and also the cleanup they were doing today out on 310, 110.
Yeah, so in our meeting this morning with some direction, went out, showed up all that metal, made sure none of it was in our right of way. This is kind of in preparation for your guys' approval tonight. We went out and measured. I haven't got the distance yet, so starting tomorrow, I'll be looking for some quotes for fencing for that. So we'll have some type of idea how much. And I think one of our big things is going to be the duration. That's going to be our big gig, but that was it. I don't know if any other.
This is gonna sound funny, but I look on social media, these posts or these marketplaces. Sometimes you can find fencing like that maybe you can use, and they're selling. You know, in Sacramento, they're selling 100 of them for whatever, for nothing, you know, basically. So, yeah, check that too.
Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna obviously look at every avenue we can. Get the best price possible and then bring it to you guys.
Yeah.
Well, then would we have storage if we were to, buy it, use it, then you didn't need it anymore? Do you have
Sure.
storage capacity for that?
I think actually FEMA, we've got plenty of lots still out there that we could store it. And there's fenced areas out there that if we thought we needed to, we could put it in there, lock it up.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, seeing anybody else, unless no, yeah. You got it, all right, you're getting it. For a while.
But it's so good to see a full house with all of our staff and to have you guys up in the center, and thank you so much.
It's been a while since we've been here, and coming back from the holidays, I think it was January 5th. We got the compliance letter from HCD, so our housing element is officially certified. Thank God that's behind us. So we're in good shape there. I was hoping we might have an update on the MSR. I know Shannon's taking it to your ward soon. I haven't heard back from her, but I know that should be wrapped up real soon. I think that it's in good shape, so look forward to that. Yeah, I'll try. I love that girl. So in addition to that, some notable updates would be the legacy project the submittal has been deemed complete, and we're going to go right into environmental review. The on-call planning services plays a big role in that. It allows us to quickly address all those issues without taking me away from so many other things that we're focused on, including the safety element. I would like to have brought the safety element here tonight, but ironically, I just didn't have the bandwidth to get it together in time. So last minute, I asked Carmen to take it off, but it'll be here next go round. So we're looking at moving that forward as well. Pacific Flyway has made a lot of progress. They have replaced the water pipes at the crossings. These pipes were plastic and having problems, and it was a big part of the agreement between the water districts and Pacific Flyway that they replaced those leaks. They weren't because of Pacific Flyway or Lund. There were already existing problems, but if they're going to be crossing them, they needed to repair them and then reinforce those areas so that vehicles could drive over them. And they've done that. They've also buried the water pipes, the sewer, the storm drain. That's all in ground. So that's a big step forward. The joint trench is almost finished. I think she said they were about 90%. That includes the gas. And then they need to coordinate with Gridley Electric to move forward with electric. Since it's been wet, the ground's been unusable. They can't really work right now, but once they get back to work, I think she said London might have 3 to 6 months stuff of work left. But it kind of depends on the weather. So if it keeps raining, keeps getting wet, that might extend out. Otherwise, if there's no rain, they could potentially be done in about 3 months, which would be really nice. Orchard View is another big update. So they are finally out of the the entitlement process, the financial process of getting all the money to get their project going, and they have broken ground. They're grading out there, and they're moving into preparing the ground for infrastructure. So it's exciting to see that finally move to the next step. And other than that, that's all I got. But you're welcome to ask questions if you dare.
Thank you.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna do it. You guys need to.
We're all here.
You wouldn't sing that song.
Mine will be really quick. I have a couple updates on the TDA audit is complete. We got that complete yesterday. We got the financials and I was reviewing them over email. We did get hit with another random audit that audits our energy surcharge that we pay towards to the state. So Miguel is having fun with that one right now. So that's ongoing. And then we did complete the citywide audit. That's done, at least our part's done. Now we're just waiting for the auditors to provide us the drafts. They did ask for an updated TV so then they could give us more accurate numbers on the draft financials. So we're just waiting on them for that. They expect to give that to me on January 30th, and we'll review. Hopefully we can make it by the February 2nd meeting, if not definitely by the next one. And then I do want to inform the council that I have started meeting with staff on the mid-year review for the budget, and I am hoping to bring that in the February 2nd meeting. So I have I met with some staff today, have some more tomorrow, and then some on Friday. So I'll hopefully get that to you guys on February 2nd meeting. Any questions? Thank you.
All right.
Happy to be here.
Right. So nobody else. They won't get yelled at anymore. All right, we'll move into closed sessions.